The Sarnak are coming. Cal Wiener tightened his grip on the flight controls as his ship's display sputtered with warning lights. The Kestrel's Edge, a battered freighter he'd bought at a salvage auction, had never been in top shape. Now, after months of patchwork repairs and scavenged upgrades, it was finally falling apart. "Come on, girl," he muttered under his breath, coaxing the stubborn thrusters. "You've survived worse." The ship bucked as the starboard engine gave out completely, leaving him spinning toward the surface of an uncharted planet. Cal swore, flipping switches and jabbing at controls, but it was no use. Gravity took over, pulling him into the atmosphere like a stone flung into the ocean. Through the viewport, the endless black of space gave way to a swirling canopy of green and gold. Vast, alien forests stretched for miles, broken only by jagged cliffs and crystalline lakes that glinted in the sunlight. Despite the imminent crash, Cal couldn't help but marvel at the untouched beauty of the world. And then the trees rushed up to meet him. Cal woke to a stabbing pain in his side and the sharp scent of burnt metal. The Kestrel's Edge had landed hard, her hull breached in several places. Smoke curled lazily into the sky. As he climbed out of the cockpit, he surveyed the damage. The freighter's port wing was buried in the dirt, and the landing gear had crumpled on impact. Repairing it would take weeks if he could find the right parts. Cal cursed under his breath. He was stranded. The planet was eerily quiet. No chirping birds, no rustling leaves. Just the faint whisper of the wind through the trees. Slinging his toolkit over his shoulder, Cal trudged into the forest, scanning for anything that might help spare metal, salvageable technology, or even just edible plants. He didn't see the Sarnak until she was right in front of him. She emerged from the shadows like a ghost, tall and broad-shouldered, her skin a shimmering silver that seemed to ripple in the dappled sunlight. Her armor was a patchwork of sleek alloys and bone-like plating, decorated with patterns Cal didn't recognize. She carried a long spear with a shaft of blackened wood and a blade that glowed faintly, humming with energy. Cal froze, his hand drifting to the sidearm on his belt. But he knew better than to draw first. Sarnak warriors were legendary in the galaxy, strong, fast, and deadly. If she wanted him dead, he'd already be a smear on the forest floor. The Sarnak raised her spear, pointing it at his chest. Her eyes, a piercing green, locked onto his, and for a moment, they stood there, unmoving. Then, in a deep, resonant voice, she spoke a single word. Human. Cal's heart pounded in his chest. He wasn't sure what she wanted, but he knew he was in no position to negotiate. Hi, he said, raising his hand slowly. I'm not looking for trouble. The Sarnak tilted her head, as if considering his words. Then, without warning, she lunged, hurling the spear directly at him. Time slowed. Cal's instincts took over. He twisted to the side, his hand darting out. Somehow he couldn't explain how his fingers closed around the spear's shaft. The energy blade fizzled inches from his face as he yanked it away, gripping it with both hands. The forest seemed to hold its breath. The Sarnak didn't attack again. Instead, she stepped back, her expression shifting from aggression to something else entirely. Surprise? Respect? Cal couldn't tell. The silence was broken when she spoke again, her voice measured and deliberate. By ancient law, she said, her galactic comment heavily accented, you have caught my spear. Now. I am yours. Cal stared at her, utterly dumbfounded. The spear trembled in his hands. I'm sorry, he said, you're what now? She lowered herself to one knee, bowing her head. I am Twara. My honor is bound to you. I serve you until death. Cal's mouth went dry. This was not how he had expected his day to go. A bond unforeseen. Twara remained kneeling, her head bowed. The spear Cal had just caught now felt impossibly heavy in his hands, as if it carried the weight of her words. You're bound to me? Cal asked, his voice a mix of confusion and disbelief. What does that even mean? Twara looked up at him, her green eyes unwavering. It is our most sacred tradition. By ancient Sarnak law, if a warrior's spear is caught, the thrower must swear loyalty to the one who catches it. You have claimed me. I didn't claim anything. Cal protested, lowering the spear carefully. You threw it, I caught it pure reflex. I didn't mean. Tvara stood gracefully, rising to her full height. Intent is irrelevant. The law is absolute. I am now yours to command. Cal stared at her. She was clearly serious. Her voice carried no trace of humor, no hint that this was some kind of misunderstanding. But the whole idea felt absurd to him. So what? You're just gonna follow me around now? Do whatever I say? Yes, she replied simply. Until my life is ended, I am bound to you by honor. Cal rubbed his temples, trying to process this. Here he was, stranded on an unknown planet, his ship half-wrecked, and now he had a 7-foot-tall alien warrior declaring eternal loyalty because he'd accidentally caught her spear. He took a deep breath. Look, Tvara. I don't know anything about your ancient laws or traditions, but this is insane. I didn't ask for this. Can't you just undo it? She shook her head. To break the bond is to forfeit my honor. My life would no longer hold meaning. Cal blinked. That's extreme. That is our way, Tvara said firmly. We Sarnak are guided by the ancient codes. They have brought us victory, order, and purpose for countless generations. He looked at her more closely now, studying the intricate markings on her armor, the solemn expression on her face. She wasn't joking, but she wasn't hostile anymore either. In fact, she seemed calm, even accepting of her new situation. The contrast from the fierce warrior who had attacked him moments ago was stark. Well, okay. Let's just say I accept this, Cal said cautiously. What happens now? I will protect you. Serve you. Assist you in all matters, Tvara said, standing at attention. It is my duty. Cal sighed. Look, I don't need protection, okay? What I need is a way off this rock. My ship's trashed. I've got no supplies, no tools to fix it. I need then I will help you repair your vessel, Tvara interrupted. Cal raised an eyebrow. You know how to fix starships? I have studied many human technologies, she replied. I may be able to assist in restoring your craft. He hesitated. If she really could help, it might be his best shot at getting back into space. But still. What happens if I don't know, tell you to just go your own way? She frowned slightly. You would not do that. But if I did? Her jaw tightened. Then I would no longer have honor. I would become. She paused, as if the word physically pained her. Worthless. Cal exhaled slowly. He wasn't about to destroy her sense of purpose, especially since she seemed genuinely willing to help. For now, it was best to just go along with this arrangement. He could figure out the details later. Okay, fine, he said, nodding. If you're serious about helping, let's focus on the ship. But no more throwing spears at me, all right? Tvara's lips twitched into the barest hint of a smile. Understood. With that, she began gathering tools and inspecting the damaged kestrel's edge. Cal watched her work, still trying to wrap his head around the situation. He was stranded on an alien planet with an alien warrior who had just sworn to serve him for life. He couldn't help but wonder what he'd gotten himself into. New alliances, new horizons. The days passed in an uneasy rhythm as Cal and Tvara worked side by side to repair the kestrel's edge. They scavenged the planet's surface for materials, chunks of ancient metal half buried in the forest floor, cables tangled around the roots of massive trees, and strange crystalline structures that hummed faintly in the moonlight. Tvara seemed to have an uncanny ability to locate usable scraps, leading Cal to wonder just how familiar she really was with this world. Have you been here before? Cal asked one evening as they camped beside the ship. Tvara was seated near the fire, her spear resting across her knees. No, she replied. But my people have legends of a planet that holds echoes of the old ones. The old ones? Cal repeated. A vanished race, Twara explained. It is said they wielded power beyond what even the Sarnak understand. They vanished before the first humans left their cradle world. Cal glanced at the wreckage of his ship. Well, I don't know about ancient races, but this place is crawling with old tech. Looks like a junkyard from someone's golden age. Twara nodded. It is why I was here. Cal raised an eyebrow. You came to scavenge? To retrieve a relic, she corrected. It was to be my trial, a way to prove my worth. Her expression darkened slightly. Instead, I failed. And now I am bound to you. Cal could hear the frustration in her voice. He didn't know what to say. He still wasn't entirely comfortable with the idea that she had sworn loyalty to him because of some ancient law he didn't understand. But over the days they had spent together, he had come to respect her determination and her knowledge of the world they were stranded on. The next morning, Twara led him deeper into the forest. She moved like a shadow among the trees, and Cal had to struggle to keep up. Eventually, they reached a towering structure, its smooth metallic surface corroded by centuries of exposure. Strange symbols were etched into its sides, and its spire reached high into the sky, piercing the thick canopy above. This was once a beacon, Twara said. A signal tower of the old ones. It may still hold the energy we need to power your ship's core. Cal studied the structure. If it's that old, how do we know it still works? We do not, she said simply. But the old ones built to endure. Their works often last beyond their lifetimes. It was a gamble, but they didn't have a lot of options. Together, they approached the tower's entrance. The door had long since fused shut, but Twara placed her hand on a faintly glowing panel beside it. She murmured something in her native tongue, and the panel blinked to life. A low rumble echoed through the ground, and the door slid open. Inside, the air was cool and still. The walls were covered in intricate carvings that seemed to shift and ripple when Cal looked directly at them. He felt a sudden, inexplicable sense of familiarity, as if he had seen this place before in a half-remembered dream. Twara led him to the core chamber, where a massive crystalline structure floated above a circular platform. Energy pulsed within it, lighting the room with a soft, golden glow. This is what we need, she said. But removing it may be dangerous. Great, Cal muttered. Just what I wanted to hear. With careful precision, they worked together to disconnect the core. As they did, the carvings on the walls began to shift more noticeably. The air grew warmer, and a deep, resonant hum filled the chamber. Cal felt a shiver run down his spine. Is this normal? He asked. Twara frowned. It is. Awakening. The moment the core was fully detached, the entire tower seemed to come alive. The carvings pulsed with light, and the hum grew louder. Cal grabbed the core and followed Twara as she sprinted toward the exit. They barely made it outside before the tower emitted a low, mournful wail that echoed across the forest. What did we just wake up? Cal asked, catching his breath. I do not know, Twara admitted. But the old one's relics often carry guardians. Cal sighed. You're really full of good news today. Twara's expression was unreadable. We have the core. We should return to the ship. As they made their way back, Cal couldn't shake the feeling that they had disturbed something ancient and powerful. Twara seemed to sense it too, though she said nothing more about the tower. Instead, they focused on installing the core into the Kestrel's edge. That night, as the ship's systems slowly came back online, Cal and Twara sat by the fire once more. We make a good team, Cal said after a long silence. Twara glanced at him, her expression as serious as ever. You are skilled, for a human. Gee, thanks, he replied dryly. She tilted her head slightly. I have misjudged your people before. Perhaps you are more capable than I believed. Cal smirked. Careful, Twara. You're starting to sound like you respect me. Her lips twitched, almost forming a smile. Do not get used to it. As the flames danced between them, Cal realized that Twara was no longer just an alien warrior bound to him by tradition. She was becoming something more: a partner, an ally, perhaps even a friend. Breaking the cycle with the core installed, the Kestrel's edge hummed faintly to life, a sound Cal hadn't realized he'd missed until now. He and Twara stood outside the ship, looking at the sky, but neither spoke. The stars above seemed closer than ever and yet still out of reach. "We're almost ready," Cal said finally. Twara nodded. But the tower's cry has not gone unheard. "Something will come." Cal frowned. "You mean those Guardians you mentioned? Are they on their way now?" She didn't answer right away, her gaze fixed on the treetops. "Perhaps. Or perhaps it is something older. The old one's works are not merely dormant, they can draw attention from things that watch." Cal tried to ignore the chill running down his spine. "Well, we'll deal with that if it happens. For now, we need to get out of here. There's still one piece missing if the ship's going to hold together in orbit. I need a stabilizer conduit. Without it, the thrusters will blow us apart." "There is one place we have not searched," Twara said. Cal's eyes narrowed. "The ruins near the cliffs? The ones you said to avoid?" She turned to him, her expression grim. "Yes. But now it may be our only option." The cliffs were a jagged wall rising from the forest floor, streaked with moss and crystal formations. The ruins near their base were unlike the tower cruder, as if whoever built them had tried to mimic the old one's style without fully understanding it. Broken columns jutted from the ground at odd angles, and the air felt heavier here, as though the land itself carried an ancient weight. Twara led the way, her spear in hand. Cal followed, his pistol drawn, though he doubted it would help if something truly alien came at them. As they approached the largest structure, a low rumble echoed through the cliffs. It wasn't a natural sound. It was rhythmic, deliberate, like the beating of a massive, slow drum. Inside the main chamber, they found it, a spear unlike any other. It stood upright in a carved stone pedestal, its shaft covered in glowing runes that pulsed in sync with the distant drumbeat. The head was not a blade, but a crystalline spike that shimmered with shifting colors. The air around it felt electric, and Cal could feel a faint tug at the edges of his mind, as if the spear was calling to him. "This is not a stabilizer conduit," he said, stepping closer despite himself. "No," Twara agreed. "This is the Spear of Unity." Cal turned to her. "You know what this is?" "It is a legend among my people," she said, her voice low. "A weapon of the old ones that was said to connect minds, to bind those who wield it in unbreakable harmony. It was lost ages ago. Many doubted it was real." Cal stared at the spear. "If it can link people's minds, then it could reveal the truth of our war," Twara finished. "If we were to use it." His chest tightened. The idea was both thrilling and terrifying. "And what happens to us if we do?" Twara stepped closer to the pedestal, her face lit by the spear's glow. "It is said the bond it creates cannot be undone. It will show us each other's memories, thoughts, emotions. There will be no lies between us. No secrets." Cal swallowed hard. That kind of connection was more intimate than anything he'd ever experienced, more vulnerable than he was sure he could handle. But he also knew what was at stake. If this spear could reveal the truth about the war between humans and the Sarnak, if it could prove that their centuries of conflict were built on lies, then it might be worth the risk. "What if it destroys us?" Cal asked. Twara's gaze met his, steady and unflinching. "If we have come this far only to fail, then I would rather know the truth, even if it costs everything." Cal took a deep breath, then another. "All right. Let's do it." When they reached for the spear together, their hands brushing against the runes, the world around them vanished. For a moment, Cal thought he was falling, but then he realized he was surrounded by light, warm and golden, like a sunrise spreading across his mind. Memories rushed through him. He saw Twara's childhood, her rigorous training, the weight of her people's expectations. He felt her pride, her pain, her hope. He saw the moment she decided to leave her home world on her trial mission, carrying the stories of the old ones as her guide. And she saw him. She saw Cal's years in the French colonies, his struggles to survive after losing his family, his restless searching for a purpose that never seemed to come. She felt his stubbornness, his humor, his quiet loneliness. Their thoughts and emotions blended, not disappearing into one another, but remaining distinct, like two streams flowing into the same river. They saw the war between their species through each other's eyes, how the Sarnak believed humans had attacked first, and how humans thought the Sarnak were unprovoked aggressors. But through the clarity of the spear's bond, the truth became undeniable: both sides had been manipulated. The war had been sparked by a third force, an unseen hand that thrived on their conflict, feeding on their hatred and prolonging their suffering. When the light faded, Cal and Tvara stood in silence, their hands still on the spear. No words were necessary. They had seen it all. Finally, Tvara spoke. "What now?" Cal gripped the spear a little tighter. "Now we take this knowledge back. We show both sides what's been done to them. We end the war." Tvara's expression was unreadable, but her voice was steady. "Then we fight not for one side or the other. We fight for peace." Cal nodded. "Yeah. We fight for peace." Together, they pulled the spear from the pedestal, and the hum of the ruins quieted. The weight of the galaxy still rested on their shoulders, but for the first time, Cal felt like they might be able to carry it together.